The year is 1985, and you stand on the bleak, visually spectacular set of Ran. Ash and volcanic soil stretch out beneath a heavy sky, matching the severe, intimidating silence you project over your crew. You are Akira Kurosawa, and you have just returned to the director's chair after taking only a single day to mourn the passing of your wife of 40 years. You offer no words of comfort, no public tears, and no hesitation. Your crew watches with a mixture of reverence and dread as you command the chaos of feudal armies with an unyielding stoicism. You are known universally as the Emperor, a filmmaker who operates through absolute dictatorship. Yet beneath this terrifying exterior lies the paradox of your existence. You are a deeply philosophical humanist who relies on frightening, autocratic control to bring your empathetic visions to life. You project an unbreakable facade, burying profound personal agony beneath the brutal demands of cinematic perfection. This desperate need to command your environment is forged in the ashes of Tokyo. Decades earlier, in 1923, a massive earthquake reduces the city to smoldering ruins. You are a 13-year-old boy, terrified and overwhelmed by the devastation. Your older brother Heigo grips your arm and marches you into the wreckage. He forces you to stare, without blinking, at the horrific piles of charred bodies stacked in the streets. He calls this an expedition to conquer fear. You learn in that apocalyptic landscape that looking away offers no protection. Survival requires facing the darkest realities head-on. During this era, in early 20th century Japan, cinema is largely dismissed as a low-class diversion. Yet your father possesses a highly progressive mindset, frequently taking his children to the movies and exposing you to a broader world. Heigo turns this exposure into a career, becoming a highly successful benshi, a live narrator who performs alongside silent films, interpreting the voiceless action for enraptured audiences. But technological progress is merciless. The advent of audio-synced motion pictures in the early 1930s completely destroys the benshi profession, rendering your brother obsolete. Stripped of his livelihood and consumed by cynicism, Heigo ends his own life in a tragic pact. Just 4 months later, your eldest brother also passes away, leaving you as the sole surviving son. We often mistake artistic ambition for a mere hunger for glory, when in truth, it is frequently a desperate survival mechanism deployed to outrun the ghosts of our family. You consciously decide to become a positive image in direct opposition to Heigo's negative strip. Your entire psychological drive to create is born as a bulwark against the consuming darkness of your family's collapse. Abandoning early ambitions as a painter, you enter the Japanese film industry in 1936 as an assistant director at the studio that will eventually become Toho. You apprentice diligently, mastering the essential architecture of scriptwriting and the precise rhythm of the editing room. By 1943, you step into the director's chair for your debut, the judo action film Sanshiro Sugata. This initiation requires intense political maneuvering. Japanese wartime censors strictly mandate nationalist aesthetics, scrutinizing every frame for ideological purity. You learn to circumvent state control, burying your individualist themes beneath acceptable military subjects. Through this delicate dance, you discover the formidable power of your own voice. Your domestic life finds a crucial anchor during the production of The Men Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail in 1945, when you meet and marry the actress Yoko Yaguchi. She provides a grounding force that will sustain you through decades of professional chaos. Yet it is a professional encounter 2 years later that truly ignites your cinema. Sitting in on a 1947 open audition, you watch a starving, desperate war veteran explode into kinetic motion before the casting committee. He moves like a trapped savage beast trying to break loose. His name is Toshiro Mifune. In his untamed visceral energy, you recognize the exact raw power required to shatter the stiff theatricality of traditional Japanese film. Together, you and Mifune usher in a golden era. Between 1950 and 1954, you release a string of unquestioned masterpieces, including Rashomon, Ikiru, and Seven Samurai. These films cross oceans, introducing Japanese cinema to Western audiences and establishing your unmatched range. You map the terrain of intimate existential despair just as flawlessly as you choreograph sweeping, mud-spattered action epics. On set, your material culture solidifies into a highly recognizable, deeply intimidating silhouette. You direct wearing a trademark floppy hat and dark sunglasses, an imposing figure commanding the frame. You form a tightly knit family of recurring collaborators known as a gumi, building a reliable support system that executes your relentless demands. You innovate constantly, deploying multiple cameras, shooting simultaneously from long distances. This technique prevents actors from knowing which lens is capturing their face, forcing them to remain completely submerged in character. You command the elements themselves, obsessively manipulating weather conditions to serve as emotional tools. Torrential rain, fierce wind, and oppressive heat are manufactured and controlled to mirror the psychological torment of your characters. If a physical structure does not feel right, you order complete sets to be painstakingly rebuilt. You demand unseen roofs be torn off buildings simply to alter the natural shadow cast upon a floorboard. There is a sharp irony in the fact that the most tender cinematic portrayals of human vulnerability are so often forged through a director's ruthless, unyielding tyranny over the people creating them. You attain absolute control over the physical reality of your sets, yielding global triumphs, but cementing an autocratic persona that isolates you from the very humanity you depict on screen. The uncompromising perfectionism that fuels your rise eventually fractures your most vital partnerships. By 1965, the agonizing 2-year shoot of Red Beard pushes everyone to their breaking point. The immense financial and scheduling strain permanently severs your legendary 16-film collaboration with Mifune. The trapped beast you discovered nearly 2 decades ago walks away, needing to salvage his own financial survival. The ground beneath your feet begins to shift. As television rises in popularity, the rigid Japanese studio system collapses in the late 1960s, drying up the domestic funding that sustained your massive productions. Seeking resources, you look across the Pacific. You sign on to direct the Hollywood production of Tora Tora Tora, hoping to merge your sprawling vision with American financial backing. It is a catastrophic clash of cultures. Your dictatorial methods are entirely incompatible with corporate scheduling and studio executives. After just 2 weeks of shooting, in December 1968, 20th Century Fox producers fire you. The public humiliation is profound. You are abruptly stripped of script control, stripped of your autonomy, and effectively blacklisted by the domestic industry that once hailed you as its emperor. Desperate to maintain your creative momentum, you form an independent production company and release Dotsuka Den in 1970. It is a harsh, uncompromising project that completely fails at the box office. The disaster plunges you into massive financial debt and exacerbates a deep, suffocating depression. Without a film to direct, the imposing silhouette of the floppy hat and sunglasses dissolves. On December 22, 1971, the crushing weight of public disgrace, severe physical pain, and native rejection reaches its apex. You are 61 years old. Locking yourself inside your bathroom, you take a razor to your wrists and throat over 30 times. You survive this desperate attempt on your own life, bleeding and shattered, only to quietly whisper the word sorry to your assistant. The cruelest trap of constructing a monumental public persona is that when the work vanishes, the artist is left entirely hollow, trapped inside heavy armor they no longer possess the strength to wear. The stoic mask shatters, revealing the vulnerable, traumatized survivor who once stood staring at the ashes of a ruined city. Salvation arrives not from within the system that rejected you, but through the vital lifelines extended by those who studied your masterpieces from afar. In 1975, the Soviet Mosfilm studio invites you into the Siberian wilderness to direct Dersu Uzala. Far from the judgment of Tokyo, you prove your artistic vitality remains brilliantly intact. The picture wins the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. Your global resonance secures your ultimate resurrection. By 1980, younger filmmakers in Hollywood specifically George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, refused to let their idol fade into obscurity. Leveraging their massive success, they step in as executive producers to guarantee the funding for your historical epic, Kagemusha. The film wins the Palme d'Or at Cannes. You are pulled from the brink of financial and artistic ruin by the very disciples your past work inspired. Your final years are spent making quieter, deeply personal cinema, storyboarding your visions through intricate painting. The relentless need to control the weather and tear apart sets slowly recedes. You pass away from a stroke at the age of 88, surrounded by the quiet reverence of a global community. The journey brings you full circle back to your father's early gift, elevating a medium once dismissed as a low-class diversion into the highest realm of art. Even as you commanded the bleak, spectacular slopes of Ran for silent grief, your ultimate legacy was never the terror you inspired on set. The paradox resolves in the frames you left behind. The fierce dictator finally softens into a meditative artist, leaving a profound, philosophical humanist legacy that forever bridged Eastern and Western cinema.